Hello, everyone. John Griffin II here, director and founder of UNI Research, here with lead investigator Robin Ramsey and Kate Peak, one of our researchers. And again, here with Your Connection, where we share your paranormal stories, paranormal studies updates, evidence discussion, paranormal event updates, team announcements, and your paranormal news. This is Your Connection for May 31st, 2020. The agenda that we have set up today for this is the Paranormal Relief Project, the first location officially announced, Paranormal Society Prediction, the Things Network, and UNI Research. Quick update on the May 21st, 2020 EVP session, Apparition Research Survey Statistics, future UNI Research online courses, Memento Mori, university paranormal courses, ideomotor effects with Ouija boards, dowsing rods, and pendulums. And don't forget, if you haven't already, join our Facebook page, Paranormal Puzzle. There's the link below, facebook.com/groups/paranormal puzzle. And don't forget to visit our website, www.uiniresearch.com, where we also have the link to our Paranormal Puzzle Facebook page as well. Mm-hmm. So, first announcement from the Paranormal Relief Project, first location, the Hinsdale House. Now, again, this is a project that so many different people, so many different teams are putting together, and this will be happening on May 1st, 2021. Again, multiple locations, multiple teams, and Hinsdale House is an incredible place. I'm going to talk about it more during the next episode of Your Connection. I have been to this house. I'm looking to go back, several of us from the team, some of the team members being the first time going there. Mine will be the second time. I'm really, really looking forward to it. But I also want to discuss more some of the findings, statistics, and some of the evidence that goes along with the Hinsdale House that we found the first time we were there. So truly exciting. So paranormal, and I had to post this. I had to post the meme. I love this. Paranormal Society and Predictions. So I received a message last night. Now, for those who are not familiar with some of the things I've done with UNI Research, on the Paranormal Puzzle page, some of my presentations and stuff, such, I've used a lot of what I've seen within society as well as the paranormal, and I combine the two basically in paranormal puzzle fashion to determine what things may happen within society. It's basically almost predicting the future, so to speak, but bringing in the spiritual aspect into everything as to how I figure this stuff out. Well, I received a message last night when everything was going just absolutely berserk. Some of the quotes from the message: "You have predicted everything correctly so far." And then later on in the conversation, "Stop being right all the time." So fair enough. I'm gonna try my best. And then, of course, I love this meme. I saw it earlier, me looking outside to see what chapter of Revelation we're doing today. And the reason I bring this up is because there will be another presentation probably later this week from UNI Research in regards to other future things that we see happening. I'm currently watching and seeing on the paranormal aspect as well as society aspect of how this is all starting to play out. I could tell you that there are definitely things that I'm seeing right now that I could start leading up and going, oh yeah, you know what, this is heading somewhere. Which is why when I first got, you've predicted everything correctly so far, I responded back with, naturally, that meme. But wait, there's more.
Awesome.
And not even a lull or anything from the message back. It was like, what else is going to happen? I was like,
That was a great one.
Yeah, I think we're all scared, and yeah, we're scared of what's happening next.
And to be honest, again, I mean, and you guys may have seen it already. with some of the posts, even if you just recently joined you and I research, you saw some of the posts that have happened where I put it out there, and then boom, things just erupted. And in
Yeah.
fact, some of you guys, whether it be you guys or some of the members of you and I research, posted articles that actually showed, probably I think it was like a month or so afterwards, that what I said would happen happened.
Mhm.
So, and again, this is all data and stuff that's collected from all the different team members as well as the general public when they're posting things from the paranormal community. This is how we come up with, uh, an educated prediction, I guess, if that's the appropriate wording.
Yeah.
Next is we're proud to be a part of uh, the Things Network. Jeremy York put out an announcement, Things Network announcement. Would like to welcome you and I research to the Things Network. They are from the Albany area, New York, and are the second team to represent the state of New York. The group's founder, myself, and they love researching and sharing their findings with other teams, which is essential to the goals of the network. So please welcome this team to the network. We're looking forward to working with you, John. Down below here, you could see their the link to their Facebook page. Definitely, please go show them some love there. Really gave us a very, very warm welcome. And seriously, Jeremy, thank you so much. And I can say this, in discussions with them, we really, one of the things that I said is sharing stats, sharing it, just like he made mention there. I'm looking to put together separate presentations as well as the Ear Connection, where we share data and such, to share with all the members of the of Things Network, and hoping to move the paranormal field forward. So there's a lot I'm planning to try and support the unity that Jeremy is uh, uh, trying to put together, trying to uh, demonstrate, how people can work together. And that's something that you and I research has always been about. So this was an easy decision to be part of uh, such a great a network that is focused on great things for the paranormal field. For the May 21st EVP session, we're currently working on the statistics breakdown and the analysis of those statistics. So not much of an update right now. I thought we would have more at this point, but there has been a lot going on this week. In addition to trying to break these down, so I anticipate that the next one we will actually have more statistics as well as displaying some of those EVPs. Also, in addition, I forgot to make mention in regards to the Hinsdale house, Tori Smith from Paranormal Help Desk posted that that announcement in the Paranormal Puzzle page. Tori, thank you so much for taking the time to post that and announce it. I've seen that she's been posting it in many paranormal groups, getting the word out there. Again, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Okay, I need to poke some fun at myself. So let's do this. So I put out a research survey about 5 photographs that people had to vote on of which they could see the most clear. And what I didn't realize until after I posted it that I put 4 pictures in the comments section. That's where they were going to find it. And then later on, I managed to realize my mistake, that I said, take a look at the 4 photos, vote on those, one of the 4. And then I posted 5. I actually did mean to post 5, and I meant to say 5. Instead, I said 4. Don't know where my mind was at, but thank you, Katie, for helping me, I guess, making sure that I could solve this major equation.
Math isn't everyone's strong suit, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, look at this data right here. I mean, it takes a lot to figure out how to count to five.
It
Yeah.
does, but we have built-in hand calculators.
Right?
That's what I call them. And then in the summer, when you can wear sandals, I can count all the way to 20.
That's
Oh, man.
why we love
Ooh.
summer.
Yes, but just be careful. This is four. This actually represents four. This represents five. I said that this was five. Just let that sink in. Let that sink in. Okay. So enough about enough about that. Moving on. So from the research survey, I wanted these were the five photos that that we put in the comment sections, or in my case, four. So um, this was photo number one over here at the top left corner, and this photo, it was taken with a digital flash camera. The only modification made to this photo, and this was a key thing, none of these photos were the same, period. This first photo was slightly modified in Microsoft Word. Basically, it was turned into kind of more of a uh, more black and white. I mean, I know there's some color, but so there were some slight modifications around this area. This one, we actually removed. It was actually done through raw photography, and it was modified through raw therapy. Not I shouldn't say really modified it, because it's different. The modification between Microsoft Word and raw therapy is far different. We were going through the different spectrums, and this is only one spectrum in the photograph, so we removed the other color spectrums. So what you're seeing is one specific spectrum, which I will announce what that is at a later date, because the research behind this is not done yet. Here's photo number three. This was again taken with a digital flash camera. And there was some modification via Microsoft Word. We lightened up the area so you could see how there was kind of like a glow here. This was actually darker before. Down here is photograph number four. That was taken with what is called a full spectrum camera. There was no modification to that specific photograph. However, we did use a UV light, as you can see here. There was there was a light flashing. There was flash to go with this as well. Photo number five has basically almost no modification. It was again used with a digital camera with flash. So those are the five photos and some of the differences between them. So let's take a look at some of the stats we got from this. I asked two questions, one in which was about whether or not the person answering believes that they are psychic, and then the other question being, which photo can you see the clearest? Or do you not see anything in any of them, basically? We had 21 people who answered both the questions. Now, to be clear about the intuitive aspect of this, if you said that you were a sensitive, but you don't feel that you were psychic, like you could actually see, hear entities, but you're just very sensitive to it, the answer was not yes for that. It was put with no. So it was full-blown psychic. I'm using abilities to be able to see ghosts. So this is what the statistic breakdown of the people who took the survey and completed it in its entirety. 21 people participated and answered the questions in entirety. 11 said yes, they are a psychic. I prefer to use the word intuitive, like intuitive consultant. That's 52% of the people who took the survey. 9 said no, and then 1 was unsure, leading to a 5% of the 21 people. As for the photos, photo number 2 was overwhelming. when it came down to the stats. 15 out of the 21 people that took the survey felt that they were able to see photo number 2, which was the one with focused on one spectrum, specifically one spectrum color. Everybody was able to see that the most. Photo number 1, which had slight modification through Microsoft Word, digital camera with flash, 2 people were able to see that. Photo number 3, which was the one that we brightened up, and it was digital camera with flash, 3 people saw. Nobody saw photo number 4 as being the clearest. And then photo number 5, 1 person saw it, something clearest through that. Now, I have not asked yet what was seen in these photos or how many things were seen in these photos. There's going to be further breakdown as to the people who feel that they're psychic and those who feel that they're not, and so on and so forth, to go along with these photos. And there's going to be further questions to go along with the 5 photos to break this down even further with the 21 people who assisted within this. So expect that this is the most simple version. This is how the research usually starts out. It's very simplistic, and then it grows from there. For the courses, for right now, the courses are canceled indefinitely. We're currently reviewing course presentations, so that's now in progress. For right now, we've seen that when we put out surveys about which courses people wanted to do next, the numbers were pretty high as to courses people wanted to see and such like that. The attendance rate wasn't there, though, as well as the comments and everything after the courses were posted. So we do know that the people who were involved in the courses that attended, they got a lot out of it. They thought it was spectacular, which is great, and it's stuff that we're considering. But for right now, we're taking a step back because we do want people to participate in these. People will get a lot out of this, just as the people who were involved said they got a lot out of the courses. And the paranormal, they saw the paranormal in a different way than they've ever seen it. And some of these people have done this for years and never thought of some of the things that we presented. So for them, it was truly a unique approach and unique thought process. With that said, I'm going to lead off to Katie.
Well, thank you very much. So when I was researching this week, I was trying to come up with something that not necessarily was paranormal, but just something interesting. And what I kind of found was the Victorian era was very spiritual. And within that was something called Memento Mori. And it basically breaks down to remember you must die, which as a kid, I guess I thought was kind of morbid. And I grew up in a very Cape Cod normal house, but on the inside it looked like Winchester Mansion because my mother was very heavily into the Victorian era. Her mother was actually born in 1910, her father born in 1911. So you go back to the Titanic, it literally sank the year my grandfather was born. So there was a lot of not only history learned, but history lived through. So I kind of became interested in learning about these tintypes and learning about what this was and, you know, why you would want a picture of a dead relative. I didn't, as a kid, understand. Now delving into it as an adult, I'm learning that it was a way to really memorialize these people. You know, you didn't have the vaccines that you have today. You don't have, you know, the health in these people that you have today. So, you know, people lost kids and lost them for reasons that, you know, whooping cough and kind of the equivalent of chickenpox at times. So, you know, you have this child and you have it for a couple months, a couple years, a couple days. The elderly, the same thing. You know, people were typically, you know, gone around their 40s or 50s. You weren't living until you were 70 or 80. So what I found was that between 1837 and 1901, this is the time that these pictures were most popular. And it was very common for the families to take pictures of these loved ones, not only for a keepsake for them, but it was to preserve the memory. You don't have, Google and that today. You don't have Facebook. You don't have ways to memorialize these people. There's other ways of doing it. I lost my train of thought. I apologize. The theory was that this was to help grieving families heal faster from if they had something to hold on to. Some of these tintypes were open like a locket, so there would be a piece of hair or some type of maybe part of their dress, something like that. And then the other side was their picture. The pictures were actually, if I got it correct, were done on like a silver plate. And in this video, it's actually a really great video. It gives you all of the information. It's 5 minutes long, but it really breaks it down. And there's actually a example of this. And they don't, it's all kind of museum type, so they don't really go through it too much, but watch it and you'll totally understand. So most wakes and funerals were done inside the home. And I literally mean inside the house, like your living room, your main parlor was essentially the waking place and the funeral home. You would receive your guests as you would in a funeral home today. You would pay your respects, stay a while, and then leave. Most family members were actually buried on their properties. And if this wasn't the case, then you were really brought to a cemetery, which was typically very small. In doing this research, I actually found out that my great-grandfather was waked in the family home in the Catskills. It was a 3-story brownstone. So he was waked right in the front door and all of that, which I thought was kind of cool because I didn't even know that. I just figured everybody went to a funeral home and went to a cemetery and that. But my great-grandmother not only waked her husband, but unfortunately did wake one of her 9 children, who was a 3-year-old little boy that they had lost in a fire prior to going to this home. And I'm looking to see if there's a tintype of this, but I don't think there is. I do know there's a couple articles that I found throughout the years about the fire itself. And then there was a poem written that my great-grandmother had written for this child. But going back to these photos, the invention of what is called the daguerreotype was created in 1839. And this is when portraits were much more commonplace. They were cheaper and quicker methods, also providing the middle class with means of memorializing dead ones. Fun fact, photography was only making its way to the masses at this time. It really wasn't something that everybody had access to. And it took up to 15 to 20 minutes to create a single photo. So imagine, you're around your friends and you go to take that fun pose, and then 20 minutes like this. Do you imagine?
That's why they didn't smile, right? A lot of them
I think
didn't
that's
smile.
why they didn't smile. And there's no duck faces back in the Victorian era, because that was probably hard to hold. But on top of it being a 20-minute process, it was a cost factor. And what I found was the average salary back in the early 1900s was about $450 a year. So even less if you were a female. Nice. So imagine $450 a year to run a household and pay bills and all of this. So to me, 1 or 2 weeks salary these people were spending to create one photo of a lost loved one. So it kind of puts into perspective why this was so important to these people. And I think maybe now why people are so drawn to them, because of how much it took to create a single photo. So in doing this research, which was kind of all over the place for me, I was trying to do a lot last night with everything going on, and my mind was completely shot. But 2 things that I did kind of find out. Again, my grandmother being born in that time frame, it was very simple for them to lose friends and family and all that. I asked my oracle, my mother, if anyone knew of anyone in our family that took these photos. And she said, not in our immediate family, but our kind of adopted grandmother, who we called Nanny Lanahan. She actually sent a brother to a home to take these photos so that they could send them back to Ireland, because there was family that was never going to be able to see a cousin that had passed away here. So at that time, he had to kind of sneak into the funeral home to take these photos of their deceased loved ones. And again, kind of thinking back, I went, I remember being in one of these photos. I had a great aunt that passed, and my kind of second mom at the time had asked all of us kids to get in a photo with her urn. And I remember at the time thinking, why do you want this? Like, what is the point of having it? Now I'm kind of happy she did that, because it did kind of solidify a lot of things and made me understand what life and death was truly about, and what made some traditions very macabre, but some very kind. And I don't know where the ending of this kind of photography got to be morbid and not a good thing. It was trying to think what I found. I don't know. I'll have to go back and read it. But kind of in closing, to me, these photos aren't haunting. They're not morbid. They're precious keepsakes. There's a stillness in them, and even through that mourning, they remind us that life is short and precious and beautiful and calm. So I hope people kind of research these. YouTube is wonderful for it. There's actually a couple Facebook groups that have these, and they're beautiful, and people kind of go all over the country to look for them. And I hope you follow those groups, and I hope that you, again, are following us, and I'm good. So you guys are, thank you.
Thanks. I actually have a follow-up for you. When you started mentioning the tintypes, literally 3 feet away from me on this bookshelf,
Yeah.
I'm going to show you, see if I can get this close enough. This is my great grandmother, Sarah Carolina Gowan Stem. And I don't know if you can see on here, but let me see which side. If you look at this arm, I don't know if you can see, she moved. And so it looks like her arm is broken or malformed, but really she moved. Okay, so that's the great grandmother. And then this is my great aunt Lacey, who lived through, there's a shine on there, who lived through tuberculosis and lived to be 104.
Wow.
Yeah. Grew up in Tennessee, so I just had to grab that really quick.
That's awesome.
We keep them in her very, very old Bible. And then the other thing that you mentioned about, taking pictures of people that passed away, this is very morbid, and hopefully it's not a trigger for anyone, but I was looking through, I have a lot of old wooden chests. I used to keep stuff in there. And one that I swear I did not know these photographs existed, or I blocked it out just from PTSD or something. I was like, I opened it up and I'm like, oh, look, oh, great, old pictures. And I was like, hey, there's me when I'm 20. Hey, there's me. And then there was an entire stack of photographs of my brother who passed away in the funeral home. So I'm going to say, and I'm not even sure who took the pictures or how I got them. Like, I feel like I must have blocked all that out, but in a strange way, I also couldn't stop looking at them. I was like, this is the last look of it. So I can completely understand why they did it.
And again, I'm not sure when it became that macabre thing, but these were the last times. And I even think back now, I mean, I was 20 something when my great aunt passed away. And I'm thinking, I remember sitting there and, in my dress and just thinking, this is the stupidest thing. Why would we ever want to do this? But now I look at that photo, I'm like, I remember that day, and I remember her stories. I remember her glass eye that she liked to roll around in there. So it brings you back to me for those happy memories, those peaceful memories. And I just think of little kids. I couldn't imagine losing a small child in a fire and then not having them, having that moment of their passing as their last moment, instead of kind of maybe cleaned up a little bit and having that final goodbye and that final conversation. So to me now they're beautiful, and I hope to start a collection in my little hutch over here, but we'll see.
Wow.
So again, the link's below here, to your bottom right, and then over here, the name of the video that Kate was talking about. Also, the channel you can find, Getty Museum, where you can find that specific video. Robin, you had some things.
I do, kind of switching gears a little bit. I know that whether you're new to the field or you've been in it a long time, there's always things to learn. And I thought it was really interesting. I came across an article that discussed different universities and courses that might be of interest to people in our field. So I didn't know if you knew that certain universities offer courses on demons, ghosts, and witchcraft, and all of these other things. And I saw this article by Sita Bardwa, and it's from timeshighereducation.com. And she was very thorough. And I'm going to try to summarize some of the interesting things that I pulled from the article. And so pretty much everybody's heard of parapsychology, which is the study of mental phenomena, which is excluded from regular orthodox scientific psychology. It goes into the things that are kind of unexplainable by regular psychology. And this includes things like hypnosis, telepathy, magic, and, you know, just all the paranormal things that you could possibly think of. Parapsychology, they're interested in how your psyche and how you interpret your experiences and that sort of thing. So there's a course offered at the University of Edinburgh, which I would love to just go to Scotland anyway. But for about 50 years, they've been offering this course and offering certificates in this field. So I think it's I think it's the Kessler Parapsychology Unit. Not only do they teach parapsychology, but they do constant and thorough experiments surrounding it too. So I think just getting into those courses and having the university put you in situations, you know, where they're monitoring you while you do your paranormal investigations or all the other things, you know, like go hang out with some witches and see how that affects your psyche. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, send me.
You know, so that's pretty cool. Okay, and the next course is intriguing to me. Here it is. It's from the Uppsala University in Sweden, Satan in the History of Ideas. Okay, so basically how humanity interprets this Satan, the figure, well, I guess not the person, the entity of Satan. So basically it's a summer course. So instead of going to the beach, you're going to college to learn about Satan and through the ages, which is kind of fun. I thought, why not? You know, because it used to be, you know, like the all-encompassing thing, like you even think of something bad and he's going to come get you, and you know how it's transformed from that, you know, into today. It's more like some people, I know it's very serious to some people in their religion, but others kind of think of it as a folklore type entity. And then some of us in the field think we probably met him once or twice, or at least he's tapped us on the shoulder. But anyway, all right, now the next course is offered at the University of Oslo in Norway. The cultural history of magic and witchcraft. Okay, it's looking specifically at the early modern witch hunts in Europe and like the psychology behind that. And it explores the concepts of how magic has changed, how witchcraft and the concept of trolls even have changed. I think I've met a couple of trolls lately on the internets, but or under a bridge. I wish they were under a bridge, but anyway. And anyway, how that's changed over time. And also they look into demonological manuals, like how they interpret, how we write about demons and how we deal with them, how we banish them and that sort of thing. So, and personally, I get all my information from Evil Dead and Ash versus the Evil Dead and the Necronomicon or whatever it's called. So, but you can actually specialize. You can continue their courses and specialize in occultism and neo-paganism and that sort of thing. And it's a certificate course, so you actually, you know, can be awarded something like that. And finally, the last one I was really interested in, which is in the United States in Pennsylvania, it's closer to our home anyway, is just folklore and the supernatural. As people have long believed in paranormal events and creatures, from ghosts and vampires and everything in between. But this course is set to help you understand how humanity's ideas of these creatures have evolved, sort of like the course on Satan, have evolved into our modern interpretations. So I find it extremely interesting because we know history and the paranormal go hand in hand. Basically, yeah. So for me, my thought process was speaking strictly of ghost communication, say, or spirit communication. If we knew what the common ideology was for that person when they were alive about ghosts and what the thought process was about spiritual communication in their era, I think it would help us find an acceptable way, like in their minds, in the spirit mind, to communicate more readily or effectively. Because if they were just taught their entire life, like, this is something you do not do, they may not be willing to answer us whether it's possible or not. So I'm thinking if we were able to say, okay, you know, through history, we think we may be speaking to someone from this era and explain to them how times have changed, that they may open up. I don't know if that that's just my
Yeah.
thought process. So
Well, it's
anyway,
communicating.
yeah. So the course also covers cross-cultural beliefs, which I think is really important. It's not all about the investigator and their personal cultural history. It's about where the location they're at and that cultural history. But they also go into dark tourism, which I think is a big deal. It's like, it's kind of dark, it's controversial.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, it's very controversial. You know, you visit all these like grave sites, perhaps sites where horrific crimes happen and that sort of thing. But they also even go into UFOs. So
those courses were definitely not offered when I went to school for travel and tourism, because I would have been on those. I was
yeah,
not
I would
part
take
of the
them.
course history.
Yeah, I would have taken them immediately.
Yeah,
And I forgot where the last one was. I don't have it written down, but basically they just kind of go into like Shakespeare and how Shakespeare wrote about demons and all that sort of stuff. So if you were like a theater nerd and like demons, you're like, this is the course for me.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that would be awesome. Where in Pennsylvania are those courses?
Let's see. University of Pennsylvania. How about that? Nice. I had to look at that. I couldn't even remember that. Yeah, so it's not that far away. So I'm wondering if they even offer some of these things online, and yeah. I didn't go that far to look, but they probably do, especially in this day and age, and what's going on in the world. So
yeah, okay, definitely have to look into that.
Yeah, I think so. Even if you have to pay for it a little bit, I think it would be great just to have that outside knowledge. And
absolutely.
And then completely switching gears. Okay. I don't know who knows or whatever, but I make spirit boards. I don't often use them, but I make them. I also make pendulums, and I use those. I make what do you call it? Dowsing rods. I couldn't think of the name or whatever. And so I came across another article on the Ideomotor Response, which is basically subconscious movements in our hands. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I know that it exists. I know this is a scientific thing, but then also using these devices, I have a problem with them saying that all Ouija board all planchette movements, all pendulum, all, dowsing rod movements are subconscious psychological movements, for a couple of reasons. And now this article was on vox.com, vox.com. Mm-hmm. So they're saying it's a psychological phenomenon wherein a subject makes motions unconsciously, and the ideomotor response, often abbreviated to IMR, is a concept in hypnosis and psychological research. That's off Wikipedia. But for me, I've been in situations, there was this one situation where I did not have a Ouija board, and there were many of us there. I'm going to say 5 or 6 people. So it was a wooden table with a glass top. So we took a piece of paper that said yes, piece of paper that said no. We slid it under the glass, flipped over a highball glass, and started asking questions. Okay. Mm-hmm. So for this to be this sort of subconscious movement, that meant that one of us was having to lead it around, and this glass was twisting in circles so fast we could not keep our hands on it. Wow. And making figure eights so fast none of us could keep our hands on it. So it was impossible for one or even the group to have the subconscious movement where we're moving it around, because it was a huge conference type table. Yeah, we're reaching in and this thing's just jetting all around. Completely impossible for it to be that. And I don't normally state things like are completely impossible, but I cannot see how that could have been an ideomotor response from any of us. So I have a little problem with that. So I guess it can be everyone's opinion. But I also believe that we can become entranced. We get so into trying to communicate, we become entranced, subconsciously open to spiritual suggestion. Mm-hmm. And knowing that entities can manipulate energy, that's what we use all our instruments for. Why can't they manipulate the body's electrical system to help, control? So even if our bodies are moving it still could be spiritual interference doing that. And that's just my personal opinion. Not always, but sometimes you can't say you just can't say, so. And then with dowsing rods, I've been guided just out of the blue, like I need to pick up my dowsing rods. I've been guided to find things that were hidden. Wow. The new house, or this is not a new house. It was built in 1880, but it was new for me. And suddenly I just picked up the dowsing rods. I said, okay, you want me to find something? And I walked around the house. And when I got close to what it wanted me to find, there's a corner cabinet that has doors that are smaller, so you can reach way back. And I never bothered. So it led me to that. And I kept reaching way back in there. And sure enough, I pulled out this small bottle of cognac.
Oh, wow.
And I looked it up, and it was from the early 1980s. It was bottled in the early 1980s. I had zero clue, and there's too many nooks and crannies to go digging around. Anyways, it led me right to it. I found my engagement ring after losing it with dowsing rods. So Ideomotor, not sure. Anyway, that's
awesome.
So that's what I have for you today.
I actually just found out that early dowsing rods were willow branches.
Oh yeah, yes.
That a fresh willow branch.
Yep. I understand that my grandfather found, on their farmland, he would find places for water for farming, and also to dig the well by using the willow branches. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you brought up the, possibly an entity using our body, so to speak, to move it, because that's actually a question that I've posed in the past. I haven't gone really in depth into research when it came down to like the Ouija board or something to that effect, but or similar things that for whatever reason, I noticed that everybody says, oh, are you moving it? No, I'm not moving it, and it's moving, but then we want entities at haunted locations to be moving objects, and they're having a hard time moving the objects. But meanwhile, the Ouija board, there's more success with that. There's more, they're, that they're supposedly moving these objects, moving this object to answer the questions, but asking them to move a ball, and then the ball just sits there for 8 hours or 16 hours. It's kind of like, okay, what is going on here? So it's interesting that you brought up the ideomotor, but at the same time, how is it, is the entity actually using the person? Is the entity actually moving, moving the piece across the board, just like a dowsing rod? Or is it that person who's actually subconsciously doing it? Or is this a combination of both? What is actually a legitimate, real response?
Yep.
So definitely interesting.
Thanks.
Other than that, that actually concludes our second episode of Your Connection for May 31st, 2020. We ask that you take care of yourself, take care of your families, and blessings to everyone, especially during a really, really rough period of time. You and your families are in our prayers constantly, and we wish everyone all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.